Okay, are we live? Let's see about going live right now. Okay, I think we're live,
Great.
but I'm seeing more of a countdown as opposed to uh, us showing on the screen. So let me just make sure that we are actually definitely live. Okay, we're live. Yes, we are.
Perfect.
So, good evening. Welcome to another session or episode of Inspiration to Achieve. I just want to do one quick tech check, which is on ATI page to make sure that we're also live there. I can see that we're live. So, welcome and thank you for joining us. If you're joining us, please feel free to connect, feel free to put in your comments. Thank you, Janice, for joining us straight away. So, my name is Patience Ogumbona. I'm really excited tonight because I have a guest. As most of you know, it's nice to do things yourself, but it's always nice to have a pal with you. So, I am a transformational coach, corporate and business trainer, DISC behavioral expert, emotional intelligence expert. I love to speak as well. I'm an author, and my area of passion is working with introverted women to help you overcome your limiting beliefs, own your strengths, and go ahead and develop your full potential so that you can thrive and create impact, influence, and income. And today I have somebody who does the same thing, whether he works with women or not, but he's very passionate about adding value. It comes very, very naturally to him. So I'm talking about Florin. Welcome, Florin. So Florin, adds value without effort. He loves to see people grow. Is his passion. He lives for it. He breathes for it. And I have been opportuned to be, blessed by interaction with him and the value that he adds to my life as well. So I want him to introduce himself. So go ahead, Florin, say hi and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Patience. It was so kind of you to say all of those things about me. I'm not sure if I'm not at that level, but I definitely like, adding value to people, love working with people, and I believe my area of expertise is mostly working with entrepreneurs and business owners and helping them, make the impact that they want to make in the world. And so this we do through tailor-made growth solution for their businesses, but also for them as people to go
Mm,
personal. So I really, really like to do that.
yeah, that's great. And I know that you live in Europe, so tell us where you live
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, and how you're finding COVID in your side or the situation in your side of the world. So
yeah. I think you all know about how the situation is where I live because I live in Sweden, and Sweden is all over the place in all kind of news. In the beginning, we were like this, odd child, this odd kind of country. Didn't want to have quarantine and maybe let people kind of decide for themselves, which is one of the core values of the Swedish culture. Uh,
yeah.
and now maybe it's used as an example. So I think we don't want to go into that, right? We don't want to go into this kind of.
No, into politics, but
So you need two more calls to do that, right? We need two more hours.
yes.
But I'm originally from Romania, so
Yeah.
my name is Florin Lungu. It's a Romanian name, so I'm born in Romania. I lived with my parents in the countryside. I spent my summers, herding sheep and taking care of the family, kind of micro farm. We had
Mm.
we had animals around the house. We have
Oh, wow.
garden. So I spend my summers there, uh, and through, I don't know, might call it fate, I end up in Sweden right now. But I will probably share with you some parts of that story. Today I'm living in Sweden, and I'm doing I'm doing work with entrepreneurs and business owners, and I love doing that. But my origin is Romania, and I had a journey as you had too. So to end up.
Yeah. Yeah, the truth about it is to grow, which is our topic that we're talking about today. We're going to be sharing about how do you willfully grow and become the best version of yourself. One thing we didn't say, we're both part of the John Maxwell team,
Hmm.
and so we work on having that John Maxwell DNA and adopting the values. And one of the values of the John Maxwell team is that of willfully growing.
Hmm.
So when we talk about, willfully growing and developing to be the best version of yourself, when I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking about a song we used to sing when we were little, when I was little. And it's interesting that the song came back to me because of this topic. And it says, good, better, best. I will never rest till my good is better and my better best. And we used to sing that, I think, in primary school and
Okay.
perhaps in secondary school. And, it's like the song was trying to put a mindset of growth in us in an indirect way. But
Yeah.
obviously, we didn't sing it. I don't think they always made us sing it with awareness.
Hmm.
So, what does it mean to willfully grow and develop to be the best version of yourself?
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you ask that because my company is called Become Your Best Version, right? And so I think there
I
is
know.
yeah, this is one of our core values. And the first thing that comes to mind is I think this is a quote by John Maxwell, and he says something like that: the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better if I improve myself today. So that's
Mm,
my the mindset that I live into. And just earlier today, I had another Facebook call, and I share one of the stories. One of my teachers, when I finished high school, we were like just in the last weeks of high school, and we were in the high school backyard, and he kind of put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Florin, remember this: whatever path you choose in life, whatever profession you choose in life, be among the best, be among that small number of experts, because in any field and in any conditions and circumstances, there will always be a need for a handful of people that are really, really good at what they do. And if you do
mm,
that, you never have to worry about having work or having a job. And I didn't realize at that time the value of this advice, but
mm,
now I understand that the only way for me is to be in that kind of expert field for us, right, for anybody, is to improve daily. And
mm,
so what can we do to actually be better tomorrow? What can we do? I think about the speed of which all things evolve, like especially technology, right? A
mm.
few years back, we
Tell me
wouldn't,
about technology.
yeah, we wouldn't think about having this call, right? It was. I mean, Zoom was unknown for many people before this COVID, right? And
Yes.
now all of a sudden, everybody use it. And how can we stay relevant in a marketplace, in the workplace, if we don't improve? So I don't think there is any other way than just improve and grow and willfully grow.
Mm. And and the reason why we use the word willfully is
Mm,
because when we're kids, you have no choice. Your parents make you do things. When you're little, your parents think, oh, they're 2 years old now, so they start helping you up, even when you don't want to toddle. So you have no choice. You've
yeah.
got to move. But also, something moves you. Something says in your brain, it's time to develop.
Hmm.
So, and I was doing a video today where I was talking about the fact that my kids have forced me to grow up because
Hmm.
I remember very vividly when I became a first time mom.
Hmm.
And I remember after everybody left the hospital, I took one good look at the baby by my side and I thought, oh dear, they left me with him. How do they trust me to
Hmm.
look after him? It was such a realization. So, but then you have a choice to either struggle through it
Hmm.
or willfully grow. And that brings me to talk about, you can't talk about growth without talking about a growth mindset or fixed mindset, because
Hmm.
that's where the word willfully comes true.
Yeah.
So, what would you say when you say growth mindset. What would you say is a growth mindset, really?
Yeah, and I think the best way for me to kind of summarize that is thinking into, um, I mean, I believe being aware of what we just discussed, being aware, understanding that what we learn today becomes obsolete in 5 or 6 years from now. I mean,
Mm,
research has shown that the things that we learn in school become obsolete in 4 years after
mm,
graduation, right? Think about, you know, I always think about these new kind of type of jobs. Like, how can you require, for example, from someone that does social media, require them to have a degree in social media or to have a diploma in social media, because social media didn't exist 10 years ago, right? So it's impossible for me.
no.
Yeah, it's impossible for me and for you and I to actually have a degree in that. But what I'm saying is that, you know, things change so fast that we don't have any other choice than to grow and having
Mm,
growth mindset, understanding that if we don't grow, we don't stay relevant in the marketplace, right?
mm,
We say that in 5 years from now, 75% of the workforce in Europe, in America, would be made of millennials.
yeah.
Now, if you and I don't grow into our understanding of how they like the workplace, how they are motivated in the workplace,
Mm,
what motivates them, how can we stay relevant? So I think
mm,
the growth mindset is understanding that, I think you made a really good point that parents and teachers, you know, throughout school, they had a curricula for us. They said, in
yes.
order for you to graduate school, you have to go to these courses and you have to take these grades. Otherwise, you don't graduate, right?
Yes.
What happens is when we finish school, no one has an agenda for us, right?
There is no life book. There is no life curriculum.
Exactly. So,
And
so
there
this,
is no curriculum. And the reason why there is no curriculum is because we're all different and no one size will fit all, will it? I guess. So
definitely. And this actually reminds me of one of the books I have here in the back from John Maxwell on the 15 invaluable laws of growth, where he says
mm,
that first kind of law is the law of intentionality, to kind of acknowledge that no one else has an agenda for you to grow and you have to
yes.
decide for yourself. And I think this is
Mm,
kind of the first requirement for a growth mindset, it's understanding that, you need to grow.
yeah.
Yes?
I think that's you're totally right. And also it's about how do you grow? Where do you grow? And I tend to think about growth in three different forms for me.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
terms of your mind and in terms of your body. So the physical growth, obviously we're growing older. Nobody ever grows younger. No amount of surgery will take away the true years of
Yeah.
use of your body. You can reverse the wrinkles, but you can't reverse living. So if you've lived 50 years, you've lived 50 years. Whatever you've done with those 50 years, you've banked for yourself or you've minused because you've not done anything. So I think the first thing is looking at the fact that we have to grow in different areas. Our mind, your body is growing older, but you can strengthen your body. So there are ways you can grow in a different way with your body. You can make your body more agile for the different things according to the stages of life you find yourself. Then
Mhm.
there's the spiritual growth, that intuition, that awareness that adds wisdom and value. Because guess what? The moment you grow older, the younger generation is looking up at you. And it's the wisdom that comes from maybe your own spiritual growth and spiritual development or your mindset. So I was just thinking about, you grow in knowledge, you grow. And when I was looking at this, it's about you believe for you to be able to willfully grow, you kind of have to believe that there's value in you to put value in. So can you really speak about that? Because we're talking about the law, I guess, of awareness or anything like that. Because unless you believe there is value, there's no need watering weeds. you
Yeah.
so yeah, talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I think you're spot on because I mean, this is again. this law of the mirror, I think is called. Like you have to see value in yourself to add value to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And we all know there were times in our life when we bought books that we never read, right? We invested in training programs that we never
In
attended.
in shelf development rather
Exactly.
than personal development. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, we are in that stage where we say, yeah, I don't invest in this new program because I know that I don't use them anymore, or I maybe
Mm,
don't use them. Because why we don't use them? As you said, you have to see value in yourself to invest in yourself. And it gets back to this kind of self-worth that we have, right? Self-image
yes.
and self-worth. And I think, the challenge there, and how can we kind of start on that direction, is to, I believe, the most important person that we talk to every single day, it's ourselves, right? I talk
Yes.
to myself, you talk to yourself, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes our self-talk can be very criticizing, very,
Yeah, the
it's
inner
not
critic,
lifting,
right?
yeah, it's not lifting us, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of putting us down.
Mm,
And I know I've been hard on myself. I know I said I would not go to this, training or this event because I know that I don't use it. I don't make the most of it. It will be a waste of time for me.
mm,
And I just kind of, sabotage myself instead of going and improving myself because I couldn't see value in myself. So you're
yeah.
spot on. You're spot on.
Mm,
Starts with seeing value in ourselves, exactly as you said. If you could
yeah.
be a weed, why would you water yourself, right?
Yeah, because obviously weed does not do anything but mess up the other plants that are growing.
Yeah.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head in terms of growth mindset and fixed mindset. So some of the things I pick up about growth mindset is you believe that your gifts, your talents, your level of intelligence all can be improved through hard work, good strategies, input from other people over time. You got to give it time and nurture it.
Yeah.
However, a fixed mindset just decides that, this is my lot in life. I
Yeah.
don't think I will get there. But some of these things, are coming from deep rooted uh, limiting beliefs. And I
Mhm.
know that as a child growing up, they say that by the time you're 4 years old, a lot of things that are really showing up as an adult have really been set. You've absorbed a lot of things already. That's very young.
Yeah.
So if you allow from 4 years old to whatever age you find yourself, 50, which I find a lot of people, a lot of clients I work with between the ages of 35, 55, and onwards,
Mhm.
you will see that this is a pattern and that they have exhibited for years. We all have it. And at some point, you've got to stand up
Mhm.
as the years are going and going, no, I don't want to keep believing this because it's not serving me. It's not making me feel good. It's not making me feel like a rose. It's
Yeah.
making me feel like weed and I can't water it. So, what are some of and I guess what you access in life really is determined by how well you've grown, levels, getting to the next level.
Yeah.
We all know that when you become a teenager or when you become an adult, your parents are thinking, when are you moving out, boy? When are you moving out, girl? Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to jump out of security into the
Yeah.
real world. So, what I guess emphasizing some of the importance of kind of taking is like taking your destiny into your own hand. What are some of the why is it important to do that,
Yeah. And I think you make a great point there because I share with you that I grew up in Romania, and if I look back at Romania and kind of post-communist Romania that I grew up into, the kind of discussions that we had at the kitchen table were like, okay, rich people are mean because the communist system works like
mm,
you take wealth from many people and you give it to just those that are in control. And those are kind of the beliefs that we have been programmed with by figures of authority in our lives, parents, teachers, peers, whomever we thought they know something about this subject, we kind of took it in, right? We were like
Mm.
a sponge. And as you say, we at one point we had to kind of start making our own decisions.
Mm.
The problem is that we have been programmed before we had our conscious mind, so we can accept or reject ideas. And
Mm.
some of us have some limiting beliefs that keep us from growing, keep us from taking the next step. But I
Mm.
truly believe that the only solution, the only solution to any kind of problem that we have in this world is that we take more responsibility for ourselves, right?
Mm.
I believe I've been fortunate to be born in Romania just because things were tough, and they taught me that I need to be resilient, that I need to work for everything. Nothing is given. You don't have anything. You don't have a social security system that allows you to just maybe kind of skip work, or
Yeah.
you don't get a pay leave or sick leave like you would maybe get in a country like now in Sweden or maybe in the UK as well. So I think
Mm.
the reason why more people from I think percentage wise more people from these underdeveloped countries or people countries that are developing now, more percentage wise, I think more people from those countries take responsibility for themselves, maybe open a business, maybe become an entrepreneur, maybe move somewhere else like I moved, right? Because I
Yes.
understood I cannot expect someone else to take care of me. I cannot expect the government, the authorities to take care of me.
Mm.
And this is sometimes a hinder in front of growth for people with too good welfare, like in Sweden. I can see
Mm.
how someone can go through life without necessarily needing to take too many risks, too much risk, or to take responsibility for
Mm.
their actions.
Mm.
There is always an insurance, there is unions, there is someone, there is insurance to the insurance to the insurance to the insurance, and always someone have your back, kind of.
Yes. Yes.
But this doesn't help us to grow, and I don't think it actually neither creates too much kind of progress and advancement.
And I think it's important, the word risk that you mentioned, because a lot of times we talk about you've got to bet on yourself, you
Yeah.
know. And I remember that one of our mentors, Paul Martinelli, talks about the fact that there is actually the concept of risk is kind of like, he says it's a myth.
Yeah.
But, you've got to understand the depth of that. Risk is actually, coming from an audit point of view, is the probability that something that you don't want to happen will happen and will stop you from achieving your objective.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it, you have to have an objective for risk to actually be there. So
Yeah.
if you don't have an objective and you're not willfully growing, that
Yeah.
means you're not putting yourself in any danger, any risk. But in the same way, without risk, there is no reward.
Yeah.
So you're not having any expectation of reward. But if you bet on yourself and you take the risk, your objective is that reward. So you're going to be removing the stumbling blocks. You're going to be removing things from your life that are going to stand in the way. And one of those things that stands in the way, we all know, is yourself, your limiting beliefs. We hold ourselves back. We prevent ourselves. And I always say to my clients or to anybody who is starting business, yeah, they always say to you the first thing, they say, most businesses fail in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And I say, when I heard that, when I decided and I became clear that entrepreneurship was my journey,
Yeah.
I said, okay, in the first 3 years, I need to have a strategy then so that I don't fail. And I think that's what we mean when we say willfully grow. So if you are saying that businesses fail in the first 3 years, then the attitude should be to have a strategy that helps you succeed. So I guess it brings me to say, what are some of the key things you will tell people? Becoming the best version of yourself is actually looking at yourself and going, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And there is possibility for me to be, so I am how do I call it? I can grow up and become a Ferrari, even though I'm a Volkswagen at the moment. And I can pour. And so what are some of the key things that people need to be doing to become the best version of themselves?
Yeah. Definitely. And I think you're making a great point there with creating if you have decided this is my goal to be an entrepreneur, then you create a strategy, you create a plan. But also, I think you mentioned very well where you say, I have decided. And I think, the first thing that comes to mind is my journey from Romania to Sweden when we started, to plan for us moving, me and my wife. We had the choice to keep our apartment in Romania, and it was a rental apartment from our company, and it would have been, very, very cheap, almost free for us, just to keep it there, in case of something wrongs happen, right? We need to go back. But I decided to kind of burn my bridges, right? With that,
Burn the boat. Churchill.
yeah,
No retreat.
exactly. That was kind of the thing. I knew that if we had this option, right? You just mentioned, I decided to succeed in entrepreneurship and I created a plan, right?
Mm.
So, just to give you a piece of my journey, the plan was no backup, right? If we don't have any backup, then we need to succeed. There is no other way, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying that this is one of the things that helped us, right, to stay focused on the goal. But if
Mm.
I would have to kind of start to grow in any area of my life, I think the first thing that I need to know is to acknowledge that I need to grow, because this is
Yes.
the biggest misconception, the biggest mistake that we make is that we think that we know it all in some areas of our lives. I'm sure we all have areas of our life where we think
Mm.
we need to grow, right? Like you might look at my body and say, "Oh, but Florin, you don't need to lose weight," and I tell you, "No, I think I need to grow in that area." So first,
Yeah. So you need muscles. You might not need weight loss.
exactly. So first,
Not that I'm saying that you're skinny or anything, but
thank you.
I'm just making a point.
Now you're
Okay.
making a good point. I, I need to feel this shirt, right? So number one, acknowledge that you need to grow, right? And number two, I
Yes.
would say decide, in what area. So I mean, maybe these two come together. Like growing in general, it's probably not of great use. I have been challenged actually by someone saying, because I was talking about growth, and they say, but I mean, grow to what purpose? And they had a good
Yes.
point,
And I
right? So
think I think that is a very important question
yeah,
because many times we use all these phrases as coaches.
yeah,
I come from an industry as well. When I was working in the corporate world,
yeah,
you just use statements. You
yeah,
expect people to understand it.
yeah,
But then a thinking mind would then reason, okay, yeah, grow. Yes, for what purpose? And because of what? Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So then maybe these two kind of points, one and two, kind of go together, because first you want to be aware that you need to grow, and then let's say you have three areas of your life where you want to grow, right? And then
Mm,
because you want to grow in those areas, let's say I want to get better at public speaking, right, or at doing these
yes.
webinars, right? Because this is a goal where I want to, this is an area where I want to go. Then my next step is to set a goal, right?
Yeah.
How can I stay on focus? Because I need a target. You just mentioned,
Yes.
right? I need a target. So first, acknowledge that I need to grow. Secondly, choose one area that I want to focus on, and then set a goal that will make me grow, right?
Mm,
So a goal might be like doing one of these kind of live sessions every day, like, or every second day,
mm.
or have one number, I don't know how many views or whatever, a goal that would help me kind of stretch in that direction, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
then kind of the number four would be to always kind of be in the process, right? Because how can you
Mm,
grow without let's say we do today's webinar, I know that I will go back and I will take my notepad and I will spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes just to kind of think a little bit about what we discussed, what could I have done better, what could
mm.
I improve on that, right? So this is like,
Yes.
it's not enough to just have a goal and then take action in that direction of that goal without kind of having feedback, because growth, you know
Reviewing and learning. Yeah.
exactly. So
from your actions or from your performance, really. Yes.
exactly, because you probably heard this too. Growth doesn't happen in the moment. Like we're doing something now, but we don't really grow right now.
Yes.
Growth happens when we take the time to sit down and to evaluate the performance and learn from it, right?
Mm,
Kind of when growth happens. So we doing things today, we can do things. We all have experiences in our life. We all experience things in our life. But if we never take the time to just stop and reflect upon those experiences, we don't draw the learning out of it.
mm, mm.
Make sense?
So those are the four key things, I guess. Being aware of your need for growth, deciding in which area you want to grow,
Yeah.
and then deciding on what goals you're going to set for that particular area. And then once you've done that, evaluate that area. And the truth about it is, becoming the best version of yourself is always intuitively, you know, when you are performing at a mediocre level, you know, when you are living less than you need to. And one of the things I remember when I was younger, what made me push, for example, was I thought to myself, I have dreams, and we all have dreams when we are little.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines, those dreams get buried underneath struggles, underneath trials, underneath failures.
Yeah.
But then I just thought to myself, okay, yes, my dreams are no longer where I want them to be. Am I going to leave them, or am I going to still pursue them? And once you've decided on that, that means you think to yourself, can who I am today achieve that dream?
Mm.
By setting yourself that question, the answer for me at that time was no. I remember totally, I thought to myself, no, totally, I can't be, I'm not that person. I'm not confident. I don't have the skills. I don't have the capability. So by identifying that, I now decided to then go on a journey of exposing myself. And it says that when you have a growth mindset, you're thinking about you've got to put in the work,
Yeah.
you've got to develop strategies, you've got to have input from others. And I think that's one of the things that people also struggle with. In our field, it feels like you have to stand and bat the drum. You and I are not where we are today. I'm finding the courage to continue on this journey without other coaches, other mentors.
Definitely.
You know, it's not teachers in the school or the university that we went to. It's more of mentors and coaches who we can tap into their experiences to be able to help us. So that element of input from others, you know, is
Mm.
so key and important. And I thought maybe talk about that. How does a person working with you make all the difference? Because it's like saying a plant in the ground cannot water itself. It needs providence, which is water from the sky and sun. But on the other hand, if that does not happen in a dry season, what happens? It needs somebody to water it. So, you know, talk about that a little bit in terms of, yeah. Just before you do that, there's somebody who's, you know, we've got some comments here. Somebody saying, great point about the points you made about growth. No backup equals no options for failure. And I guess that is true, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So talking about what difference does it make to have somebody in your corner and input in your life?
Yeah, and I will get to that really quickly, but I want to share something before because I heard you, talking about you sitting in a place where and looking at your goals and asking yourself, can I achieve those goals, right? And I
Mm,
think that's a great point, and maybe something that some people miss is what's the purpose of a goal, right? Because
yes.
the purpose of a goal is not for us to have something. For the purpose of the goal is to become someone, to become the person that can have that thing, right? It is really funny because I think it's 1 year ago, or it's probably 1 year ago, I set a goal for myself, and I said on one call, and I probably can go even back and watch that call. I said that I want a certain, I want a center car. I want a Volvo S60, right? And at that point, the goal for me was just to, to push me, to stretch me, right? But I didn't understand what the goal meant. The goal was not for me to have that car because now I have it. The goal was to become the person that can have that car.
That can afford to have that car. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So this is, and this is, I think this links perfectly into your question because if I am in this situation, I'm here. I want, let's say, I want a bigger house, right? Where I want a bigger income, right?
Yes.
And I'm sitting, I'm wondering, how can I do that? I mean, one thing that I learned is that I don't have, in my lifetime, I don't have the time to make all the mistakes that I need to make in order to learn all the lessons that I need to learn in order to achieve my goals. So what can I do? I can learn from other people's mistakes, but I also can tap in other people's experiences and go
Yes.
and seek for mentoring, for mentorship from the person that has the goal that I want, right? But I heard this. I think it's probably from Napoleon. I might be wrong, but the point is that poor people should invite rich people to lunch and shut up.
I
Right?
don't think it's Napoleon, but maybe it's Napoleon Hill. Yes.
Maybe it's not. But I think maybe it's not. But I think I learned this in the context of Think and Grow Rich book. That's why I linked it to
Yes.
him. But what the point being that we can learn so much more from other people that been there, done that, and this is called mentorship. And
Yes.
we as well learn a lot from people that are in a position like you and me that we can challenge other people, right? We
Yes.
are trained, we are professional coaches where we can we can pick up those limiting beliefs like showing up in someone's language, right? And help them
Yes.
say, okay, what makes you say that?
Yes.
And it makes them kind of tap inside and go inside and say, oh, that's right.
Help to look at the blind spots that you can't see on your own. And that's why they are blind spots, isn't it?
Exactly.
That become barriers
And
to progress.
because some people think that they don't need someone, they don't need a coach or they don't need a mentor. But here's the point. I mean, it's like, who was this? I think it was Albert Einstein who said that you cannot solve the problem with the same mindset that you created, right?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
same way, I cannot expect that by myself I'm able to solve my challenge, right? Because this will mean that the same mind that has created the challenge knows how to solve it,
Knows how to solve it.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you cannot tap into those resources without being guided, right? And professionals like high elite sport, elite athletes, elite,
Especially elite sport athletes. Yeah.
they know that, right? They
Yes.
have 4 or 5 coaches. They have a coach for the swing, they have a coach for the long term game, they have a coach for short term strategy, they have a mindset coach, they have a coach for
Food.
everything.
Diet.
Exactly. They understand that there are resources within them that they cannot access without being guided.
Yes. And I think that's the key thing, resources within you that you cannot access, that somebody needs to push. There are two ways. I think John Maxwell says somebody needs to push, probably give you that push, something that pushes to motivate you, but that pull, some inspiration from the inside that makes you go over and beyond. And I used to say that when I first started, I became like what we call a treasure hunter. And there are people that I know that I had to go pull out and go, you will get benefit from this. Of course, there was skepticism, but I see who they are today and I realize, what if I hadn't done that? They would still be in a place of lack of awareness or lack of knowledge. And in the same way, that's what I'm doing now, saying to people, you can have a mind shift, but to be able to really work with people in a very effective way, you need a leader shift. And so tomorrow, obviously, I'm starting my mastermind for women because I realized that even in my own life, what's made a difference. And we've spent time together, working on our mindsets together. So we're never the finished thing. You're always a work in progress. But when you develop yourself, you can go to that next level to give it to somebody else. And most people feel like I would just wing it without getting that next level of development. So I'm doing that leadership, training for women, because I believe that once you can step out of that discomfort into your next level, you can you can achieve great things. Of course, I'll place the links. But what about you? What are some of the programs you run for entrepreneurs and all that, to develop people and to support people?
Definitely. So now what we're doing, we're running a series of webinars that we also broadcast on Facebook. So my Facebook page is called Become Your Best Version. I think all that we discussed today is kind of it leads to this, because why I like this name is because I will never be able to say I become my best version, because as soon as I get to version number whatever that be 100, I realize, oh, in this area now I understand more. So the more I understand, the more I know that I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
and the more you need to do anyway. So
yeah, exactly. And this reminds me of another quote where it says that in front of any problem, in the mind of the beginner, there is multiple solutions, but in the mind of the expert, there is only one solution. So that says a lot about, the more we learn, the more we know, actually the more we don't know. And the expert can exclude those solutions that the beginner cannot, because they don't have experience. But to answer the question, what we're doing, so on our Become a Best Version Facebook page, we host on Wednesdays and on Mondays like a 20 minutes kind of teaching, where we share some time-tested success strategies. These are business tips that have stand the test of life of time, like success living clues that we just discussed. Studying successful people, you're able to learn from them, like fighting for the best deal, like how can we in a customer and supplier relationship, how can we find the best deal that everybody wins instead of fighting against some, right? So we teach these strategies, and this is free webinars that people can join, and we would lead into an event. So and I will probably share a link after this call, because I'm not that on my phone right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
On September 30, we would have a call that we would focus in on helping people reinvent themselves in this COVID pandemic. So I think every crisis has three stages. You have a stage where kind of people are in, maybe in denial or in amazement, because this is where we were in February, March. We saw things happening in China, but we never thought that this will come to Europe, right?
Exactly. Complacency.
We were in denial, right?
Yeah.
And the next phase is like kind of where we are today. We realize, oh, this thing is real. It affects all of us. What can we do? How can we adapt to it? And we are in what people call today to be this like new normal. So we had the old normal, then we've been in denial. We have the new normal, where now we kind of adapt to the situation. But I start seeing people talking about the future normal,
which we have to create.
Exactly. And this is where
we are creating the current normal, whether or not the government tells you to do one thing or the other. They don't come into your household. They don't come into your life. You have to design it. Like Janice is saying, she's saying great information and suggestions for self-improvement. Each of us must take responsibility for what happens to us. And that's exactly it. Because no matter how, before it trickles down from the top, there is the process of the bottom up and the top down. You've got to do what you've got to do for your own unit. So the future is actually not, when you are talking about the culture of looking for somebody else to have responsibility. And yes, they have to. But at some point, you've got to be, the government is not going to wash your hands for you. The government is not going to stay at home for you. So whether or not they say stay at home, you've got to take responsibility for how you go out, how you mingle, based on your own risk assessment of how much you want to expose yourself and what risk you want to take for yourself. And that is one of the most difficult things that people struggle with, is the fact that taking responsibility for yourself is so necessary. Deciding to bet on yourself, like we said from the beginning, by investing in yourself, by getting help so that you shorten your learning curve. All these things are so important. So, we've done a very long session, but a very useful one. I believe that there's so many tips here that people can take away, but it's just, before we finish, just recounting, some of the things we talked about. We said the first one, obviously, Florin, is intention. You know, you have to decide that you want to grow, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and then the second one you said was, basically, where do you want to grow? In what areas do you want to grow? Or do you actually, sometimes it's not about what you want, it's need to grow. Because during this lockdown situation, people needed to grow in tech skills. You needed to grow in relationships, because those that didn't grow in relationships, they came out soon after, deciding to move out of the house, do all sorts of things. So you had no choice. You were always running to work and avoiding it. Now you are in the same space. It's not just about wanting to grow. Now you need to grow. And I guess the third one was, the how, I guess. How do you grow? What goals do you set in that area that
Yeah.
you want to grow? And what did you say was the fourth one again?
It's like kind of having this continuous feedback, right? Being
Feedback, yes. Review,
yeah,
yeah,
you take one step in, towards that goal, and then you kind of review, improve on that, because that's when the growth actually happens.
yeah, yeah. So, and I guess for me, I'll finish by saying that, I always say transformation is your birthright. You either claim it or you don't claim it. And I always say this: the butterfly will keep crawling as a caterpillar and never be able to realize that they have wings inside that body, that they have to go to a stage of becoming, a cocoon, and, hanging up to be able to spread their wings. It
Yeah.
could choose, of course, it's a natural progression for it, but it could very well choose, I don't want to grow, I don't want to climb. The caterpillar has to climb and hang on something. Most of us know that. What if it decides not to climb? It can't do it on the ground. That's the realization. So you've got to take yourself through the process of transformation, because it's your birthright. Is the caterpillar's birthright to become a butterfly, but it has to climb a tree, go there and sit there and eat its body weight. One day, as it keeps doing that, then it develops. So, I want you, as you're watching this, to realize that transformation is your birthright. You need to claim it. You need to take responsibility to climb that tree, to go and find your wings and spread your wings and fly. So, Florin, what's the final message you want to leave, just like I have left with people? What's the final word you want to give? Either a quote, a phrase, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think you're making a great point, and I think about trees. Trees never decide not to grow, right?
Yes.
The difference between us and trees, people and trees, is like people have free will, so we can decide, right,
Yes.
not to grow. But we are made, as you said, for growth. It's impossible to not grow, just because there is always our soul. We are made for fuller expression and fuller
Mm,
expansion. We cannot
mm,
content ourselves. We might be happy with some results for a period of time, but we cannot stay there longer, right?
mm,
I think the thought that I want to leave people with is this idea of deciding to become your best version, because that
mm,
goal so big, so far away, until you probably never get there. Because as
mm.
soon as you get somewhere where you think you are really good, then you realize,
The
oh,
next desire shows up.
exactly. So I think this is probably one of the best growth mindsets. That's why I love this phrase too much. I make it a little bit too much about myself, but this is, I truly believe that, and I truly
Mm,
believe if we decide to become the best version, if you are a coach, become the best coach. If you are a chef, become the best chef. If you are a mechanic, become the best mechanic. Whatever you are, wherever you're planted, just grow there and become the best person in that field. Because as I said, there will always be, in good times, in bad times, there will always be a need for a handful of really good experts in any field. So if you do that, you never have to worry about having work or having customers.
Well, thank you so much, Florin. I could talk to you all day. So we've had a lot of fun. We've shared some good nuggets. Thank you for accepting my invitation. I always say variety is the spice of life. My audience don't just want to hear me. I want to keep bringing my friends along to share. And you've heard Florin. He says, go ahead and become the best version of yourself. So thank you very much, and take care and have a lovely rest of the week, whatever you're doing, and God bless.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.